Welcome to Dolphin Dive Daily, your go-to spot for everything Miami Dolphins. If you bleed aqua and orange, hit that subscribe button and join the pod. The Miami Dolphins might have just found a hidden gem in Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, and not a moment too soon. Over the last few seasons, under coach Mike McDaniel, this team has dazzled fans with speed, creativity, and flashes of brilliance. But one issue has kept holding them back: a reliable third wide receiver. They've tried a carousel of names like Odell Beckham Jr., Braxton Berrios, and River Cracroft, all serviceable in their own right, but none of them really clicked into that WR3 role. Last year, things got so out of hand that tight end Jonnu Smith basically became the team's third wideout. Let that sink in. A tight end was the go-to third option in a wide receiver-heavy scheme. That lack of a true third receiver didn't just limit options, it made the offense painfully predictable. But Westbrook-Ikhine might be exactly what this team has been missing. Now, let's be clear, Westbrook-Ikhine isn't the flashiest name out there. He's not going to burn defenders with 4.2 speed or leap over two safeties for a viral highlight every week. But what he does bring is something the Dolphins have sorely lacked: size, strength, and versatility. Standing at 6'2", over 210 pounds, he's a physical presence that brings balance to Miami's small but fast receiver core of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. And he knows it. When speaking to the media recently, NWI said he's still figuring out his role, still carving it out in camp. But he emphasized what matters most: being reliable, versatile, and someone the coaches can count on to be in the right spot. That mindset alone already puts him a step ahead of the revolving door of WR3s Miami's tried over the last few years. And yeah, part of the reason he's still finding that role is a minor injury that slowed him down this offseason. But if you turn on his tape from last year with the Tennessee Titans, it's hard not to get excited. This guy doesn't just run routes and catch passes, he works. NWI got his hands dirty last season, and it's the kind of grit that fits perfectly in McDaniel's offense. He caught 9 touchdowns on just 32 receptions. Talk about efficiency. But beyond the stats, it's the little things he does that make a big difference. He's not afraid to block, to be physical, to do the dirty work that often goes unnoticed by the average fan. For a team that's trying to strike a better balance between the run and the pass, that could be a game changer. Let's dive into that blocking for a second, because this is where he could shine the most early on. One of the major pain points in the McDaniel offense has been asking smaller receivers like Tyreek and Berrios to execute tough blocks in running plays. That's a huge ask, and last year it just didn't work consistently. But Westbrook-Ikhine, he handled defensive ends in Tennessee from the slot, that's right. Not just catching balls out there, but engaging in real physical blocks that opened up running lanes. On one play in particular, a crack toss concept, which just so happens to be a staple in Miami's playbook, NWI took care of a defensive end with textbook form. That's a level of toughness and technique Miami desperately needs to make. The run game more reliable and less dependent on finesse. Of course, he's still a wide receiver and a pretty underrated one at that. NWI's receiving profile isn't exactly jaw-dropping. Last year, 103 of his 431 routes were go routes. But what makes him different is how he wins those routes. He's not blazing past defenders, he's out-muscling them. He uses his frame, his leverage, and his strength to win through contact, to make contested catches, to give his quarterback a safety valve down the field. And that matters because while Hill and Waddle are absolute burners, their game relies on separation and timing. What Westbrook-Ikhine offers is a different flavor, a more physical, possession-oriented approach that complements the existing weapons beautifully. And that strength, it becomes gold in the red zone. You want to talk about impact. NWI was targeted just 9 times in the red zone last year and turned 6 of those into touchdowns. That's absurdly efficient. That means when the field shortens and space disappears, when Miami has struggled to punch it in, NWI thrives. He's the kind of target where you don't need a perfect throw. Just get it near him and he'll make something happen. He said it himself. I love the red zone. Throw it wherever. And that's not cockiness, that's confidence. From a guy who knows how to use his size and instincts in tight spaces. In a league where games are won and lost inside the 20, that kind of reliability can be overstated. Let's put some numbers to this. The Dolphins ranked 16th in red zone touchdown conversion last season, middle of the pack. That's not terrible, but for a team with Super Bowl aspirations, that's not good enough either. McDaniel's creative play calling gets them downfield, but without a trustworthy target to throw to in tight coverage, drives often stalled. That's where NWI comes in. With his frame and red zone savvy, he could be the missing piece to push Miami into the top 10 in red zone scoring. You pair that with Hill stretching the field, Waddle underneath, a Mostert or a Kane in the backfield. That's a nightmare for defenses. Beyond the X's and O's, there's also the intangible vibe NWI brings, this humble team-first energy. When he talks about joining the Dolphins, he mentions the momentum being built, the flashes of greatness already there, and the opportunity to be a part of something special. That says a lot. He's not walking and demanding targets. He's not trying to be the next Tyreek Hill. He just wants to help the team win, whether that's catching passes, sealing the edge, or making clutch plays in the red zone. And sometimes that's exactly the kind of player who makes the biggest difference. So, what's the ceiling here? Well, if NWI stays healthy and continues carving out his niche, he could be a legit WR3 with WR2 upside in specific matchups. More importantly, he adds a new layer to this offense. A big body, a reliable blocker, and a physical target who can win when the game slows down in the red zone. He doesn't need to post 1,000 yards. He just needs to do the little things. Better than the last group of WR3s. And with McDaniel dialing up the scheme, watch out. This offense could go from fast and flashy to fast, flashy, and fearless. In the end, Nick Westbrook-Ikhine might not be the name that gets the headlines, but he might just be the piece that holds the puzzle together. The Dolphins are building something down in Miami. You can feel it. The speed is there. The quarterback is locked in. The coaching staff is hungry. And now, with a little added size, some grit, and a guy willing to do the dirty work, this offense might finally become as dangerous and as balanced as it was always meant to be. So Dolphins fans, keep an eye on number 15. He may not be the star, but he could be the spark. Still with us? Then show some love. Hit that like button and let us know in the comments. What's your take on the Fins this week? It was supposed to be just another off-season interview, the kind that fills the quiet before training camps roar back to life. But when Tyreek Hill speaks, the NFL listens, and this time, he didn't hold back. The Miami Dolphins superstar, wide receiver, known for his blistering speed and electric plays, dropped a bombshell that has fans, analysts, and even teammates buzzing. Speaking during a Candid podcast appearance, Hill hinted at something that caught everyone off guard. His belief that he might need to be on a bigger team to truly achieve what he wants. Coming from one of the league's most dynamic players, that statement hit harder than one of his infamous touchdown sprints. It wasn't just a throwaway line. It was the kind of quote that sparks debates, shakes locker rooms, and lights up the sports media world like fireworks on the 4th of July. Let's be clear. Tyreek Hill didn't say he's leaving the Dolphins. Not yet. But the undertones of his words were unmistakable. When he talked about legacy, about being remembered as one of the greats and needing the right stage, it was hard not to read between the lines. Miami has given him a spotlight, no doubt. He's put up monster stats, turned Tua Tagovailoa into a near MVP candidate, and helped reshape the Dolphins into playoff contenders. But that's just it. They're contenders, not champions. And for a player like Hill, who already owns a Super Bowl ring with the Chiefs and still plays like he's in his prime, contender might not be good enough. In his eyes, he might feel like he's stuck on a team that's exciting but not elite. And for someone chasing greatness, that's a tough pill to swallow. What's really intriguing is the timing of his comments. The Dolphins are in a moment of transition. They've loaded up on talent, invested heavily in their roster, and expect to challenge the likes of Kansas City, Baltimore, and Buffalo. But they haven't been able to break through. Every postseason ends the same way, with disappointment. Tyreek's comments add fuel to a narrative that's been growing. Maybe the Dolphins have maxed out their potential. Maybe they're flashy, but not quite finished. And when a player like Hill starts suggesting, even indirectly, that he needs a bigger platform, it raises tough questions. Is he losing faith? Is he looking around the league and seeing other superstars in more stable, more championship-ready environments? What really sets this situation apart is how vocal Tyreek Hill has always been. He's never been one to bite. His tongue. Whether it's hyping up teammates, taking playful shots at opponents, or speaking his truth about team dynamics, Hill has built a brand around authenticity. So when he talks about needing more, it doesn't feel like a calculated media move. It feels real. He spoke from a place of ambition, maybe even frustration. He knows what greatness looks like. He lived it in Kansas City. And now, as he approaches the later stages of his career, he seems to be grappling with whether Miami can ever truly offer him that same level of excellence. For fans, it's a reality check. For the Dolphins, it's a potential storm brewing under the surface. There's also the element of locker room chemistry to consider. Statements like this don't exist in a vacuum. Teammates hear them, coaches hear them. And while Hill didn't directly criticize anyone, the implication that he might outgrow the Dolphins creates a ripple effect. How does Tua respond? How does Mike McDaniel, a coach known for his close relationship with his players, address this? Do the front office and ownership double down to prove they can build a winning culture around Hill? Or do they start preparing for a future where their star receiver might not be around forever? These are the kinds of internal dynamics that shape a team's trajectory. One quote can ignite 1,000 questions, and right now, Miami has to decide how it wants to answer. Meanwhile, the rest of the NFL is watching. You better believe front offices across the league heard Tyreek's words and perked up. A player of his caliber doesn't become available often, but when whispers like this start to grow, teams start plotting. Could he reunite with Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City? Could a team like the Philadelphia Eagles or San Francisco 49ers swoop in with an irresistible offer? Tyreek has the kind of talent that tilts the balance of power in the league. He's not just a star, he's a game changer. And if he ever truly becomes available, the bidding war would be historic. Right now, it's just a rumor. But in the NFL, rumors have a funny way of becoming reality. Still, it's important to remember that Tyreek Hill is fiercely competitive. That's part of what makes this whole situation so compelling. He's not looking to coast into retirement or just cash checks. He wants to win. He wants to dominate. He wants to walk into the Hall of Fame as not just one of the fastest players ever, but one of the most impactful. And maybe, just maybe, he's starting to worry that staying in Miami won't let him fulfill that vision. That's a sobering thought for Dolphins fans. But it also might be the wake-up call the franchise needs. Stars don't wait forever. And if Miami doesn't start delivering deep playoff runs and championship moments, they might find themselves watching Hill do it somewhere else. Of course, there's another side to this. Maybe Hill is simply trying to light a fire under his team. Maybe he wants the Dolphins to feel the urgency, to recognize that their window is now. After all, he didn't demand a trade. He didn't criticize anyone directly. He just spoke his mind. And sometimes that's all it takes to shake a franchise into action. If Miami takes this the right way, it could actually be a turning point. Rally around your star. Show him that you're serious about winning. Use his ambition as fuel. The NFL is a business, yes, but it's also an emotional, passionate game. Players like Tyreek Hill are emotional leaders. And maybe, just maybe, this is his way of leading. In the days since his comments, reactions have ranged from panic to praise. Some fans are furious, calling Hill disloyal or overly dramatic. Others applaud his honesty, saying he's right to demand more from a franchise that has historically fallen short. Sports talk shows have run with it, speculating on every possible angle. Is he unhappy with Tua? Is he already planning his next move? Or is this just a strategic play to force the Dolphins' hand before contract talks or future roster changes? Whatever the answer, one thing is clear. Tyreek Hill changed the conversation. The spotlight is on Miami now, and how they respond could define their season and their future. So where does this leave us? Right in the heart of one of the NFL's most intriguing off-the-field storylines. Tyreek Hill is still a Dolphin, for now. But his words have shifted the ground beneath South Beach. They've reminded everyone that greatness demands more than highlight reels and Pro Bowl nods. It demands rings, it demands legacies, and right now Hill is wondering if the Dolphins can deliver that. Whether it leads to a blockbuster move, a deeper commitment from the front office, or just a sharpened focus in the locker room, this moment matters. Because when a superstar speaks, the league listens. And Tyreek Hill just said something nobody saw coming. That's a wrap for today's dive. If you're loving the content, share it with a fellow Dolphins fan, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a splash. Fins up!